What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kumpel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I'm super excited. I have a great guest zooming in all the way from Denver, Colorado, and it did snow there today, which is unfortunate, but it's beautiful there, so it melted right away. Chelle Johnson is the CEO and founder of Best Your Career Advantage. Shelly, thank you for joining us. Please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I do live in Denver, and I'm actually originally from Phoenix.
Wow.
I have been in talent acquisition and HR for over 20 years. And as you can imagine, I have some war stories. So about a year and a half ago, I started my own business that really focuses on career strategy. And I'm kind of like a career intuitive. And what I mean by that is I go deeper in working with people. I'm not transactional. I'm a Zumba instructor part-time.
Love
and
that.
I love diversity and inclusion, and I'm bilingual also. I've lived all over the world.
I did read your bio. You are very impressive in some of the stuff that you have accomplished in the companies you worked for.
Thank
and before
you.
we started recording, we did talk a little bit about that whole corporate breakup idea, and I did record with someone that created that whole saying, I guess. And that's a big transition to make. I mean, you've worked for some Fortune 50 companies, Comcast, Lockheed Martin, Quest Diagnostics. Those are big names.
Yeah, I'm super blessed in my career to have worked, like I said, all over the world. Mexico, I went to school in Spain. I've lived in Japan for a few years. And, I went to grad school, and then you just start climbing.
Yeah.
And where are you climbing to? You're doing so much for other people. And for me, I just felt completely disengaged, disconnected, and lost from who I am. And, you get those corporate labels, like she's the bitchy boss, or, just labels.
I take that as a compliment. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm the bitchy boss. Am I getting shit done? Yes, okay, good.
You get these labels about like, oh, she's not going to promote you, and I'm like, actually, I had more people promoted on my team than any other HR person in all of Lockheed Martin, or,
Yeah.
I just felt lost. And so about a year and a half ago, I decided I'm going to use my intestinal fortitude and put my vision, my voice, and be visible for what I love doing. And I'm going to live differently. For a lot of folks, it's that fear. It's that future events appearing real, and that paralyzes them. And I did a lot of soul inspired work to kind of dig deep and figure out what my purpose and my clarity is. And now I can help other people do that. And I'm having a blast doing it. But that corporate breakup is not easy. I'm still shedding some of that corporate life and being a bit of a corporate refugee. Yeah.
I'm just gonna plug Katrina Rhodey. She was the one that I pulled that corporate breakup from. So I want to make sure that I give her.
Oh, cool! I'll definitely look her up.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What do you think the hardest part of making that decision was for you? I'm not sure if your other clients experience it. It might be different for everybody else, but for you, what was the hardest part with that?
The hardest part for me was leaving the total compensation, your salary, your benefits, you get to go travel everywhere, and really starting as an entrepreneur. It was leaving that security to go have a risk that I wasn't sure of, but I knew in my heart that I'm a risk taker, I'm very adventurous, and that I'm very good at strategy and execution. So really the biggest part was just having the confidence to believe in myself and my product and what I do, to go there with other people that have had that breakup and that want something different in their life. And so I've been very blessed that I can take my message and I can amplify other people's lives, so that they honestly get an average of about a 22% increase in pay, even in a pandemic.
I love that. So I think you said here in your bio, amplify your awesome. I think, is that what I read?
Yeah.
I
That's my
love that.
signature. And like, I want to work with people who like high achievers, extraordinary badasses that want to just make a pivot and amplify how they resonate and how they show up, to truly be their best, not only in their career, but in their life.
Yeah, yeah. So how long have you been a solopreneur? I think you told me before we started recording, but I need you to tell me again.
No problem. About a year and 4 months.
Oh, so okay, so very recent, and so I can
Yes.
understand where there's probably like a withdrawal from that corporate life. That's how I would think of it.
It is kind of like a withdrawal.
Yeah,
But everybody's been withdrawn and disconnected because they're working from home.
yeah,
I just
sure.
decided in late 2019 to put my stake in the ground and start my business. And trying to grow that during a pandemic has certainly been educational, to
Oh, I
say
bet.
the
I
least.
bet. Yeah.
Um, there have been points of sure fear, and then points of pure elated
Oh, yeah.
joy and hope. And it's not living that mundane anymore. It's about believing in yourself enough to take that next step. I mean, even as the breadwinner in my family
Yeah.
and having 2 kids, I'm like, I can't continue to do the soul sucking, high level defeat and forget who I was. Like, who am I? And so, still figuring that out, but definitely on my path to the right way.
I love it. You are inspiring me already, and I just love it. What do you are most of your clients? Are they all most of them from the corporate world that are trying to break out of that?
Most of my clients are, yes, they're in the corporate world and they're either job seekers looking for another opportunity, or they just feel lost and
Okay.
don't know what to do. And they everything from, I really focus on high achievers in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math in STEAM, because of working with very focused companies like Comcast and Quest Diagnostics.
Sure.
So, but the common thread is that pain point that they have. They have had a shitty boss,
Yeah.
or they've had a really bad experience with an employee relations issue, or they're not getting promoted, or they're hitting a glass ceiling because they're a woman and they're not treated equally, or they're a person of color or LGBTQ. I work with a lot of underrepresented minority and people of color, because I ran diversity for Honeywell,
Hmm.
and that's really a passion of mine. So I really get at the heart of things to help just people make pivots and
Yeah.
clarify what they do.
So, can we just talk about the two different types? I mean, I know there's probably a wide range of people that you work with or are going to work with in the future, but one that's in corporate and is looking to make that next best move versus the person that's a little lost. So, how do you help that person that's in corporate already and is looking to pivot and move up the ladder, or I don't even know if that's the right question, but I think you understand where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I think that is the right question. What I would say to that is a lot of people are in jobs and they're afraid
Yeah.
to do something different because they're so reliant on the income. And, you know, what you know is what you know, and maybe the grass isn't always greener. So,
Right.
to answer your question, the way that I help them is that we really assess what their values are. How do they focus, or what do they want to do, and what's holding them back?
Yeah.
Is it a person, a place? Is it the inner critic and the judge in their head that's sabotaging them? So we get them really clear on with clarity with what they want to do, what their superpowers are, and build their courage and confidence so that they can be much more brave in how they go about asking for stretch assignments and asking for raises, or asking for just believing in themselves and resetting those recordings
Yeah.
that have been there,
The programs. We're all being programmed.
Yes, remove those programs. And I do it through like assessments and
Sure.
really very strategic planning on what's the next step, how do we brand you, what does that look like, and prepare you even in the interview and internal networking on who to interview with, what to say to them, how to go about building your internal network for the company.
Yeah, that's great. And so now, what about the other person that's like stuck, that that maybe not in the corporate world, or it's like in, in a job that doesn't really complement their skill set? How do you work with them?
So I work with a program called Positive Intelligence, and it's really about mental fitness. It's about
Ooh.
shutting up that judge and all of the controlling or victim or hyper rational. And it's about scientifically changing the neural pathways in your mind so that you are completely focused. And I go through and I ask purpose driven questions like, what do you do naturally?
Yeah.
What do you do effortlessly? What is it that if you had to wake up and you could do whatever you wanted, what would you do? And we do some deep level work in that way, along with some strength finder assessments. And we focus these clients on leveraging transferable skills that they've had in the past,
Yeah.
branding them. And then because I've been in corporate, I have over 9,000 people in my LinkedIn.
Oh,
And so
wow.
a lot of what I do is I actually network for my clients so that they can get their foot in the door,
Amazing.
get jobs, basically on a fast track.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
Some of that work that you talked about, that's hard work to do. And someone has to really
Yeah.
be ready and really be committed to wanting to make a drastic change or to improve their lives, because that's like, if they're doing the work right, it's tough. It's tough to do that stuff. But you have some great questions here, and I wanted to just, since you said you're ready to answer them, let's pick one. Actually, I like the first one that you have here. What advice do you have to fast track a job search?
Okay. So, like I said, you have to have a vision
Yeah,
of what you are doing. Because if you don't, it's kind of like you're throwing a dart at an arrow, or throwing a dart at a
yeah,
dartboard, and you're like, where am I going to land?
yeah.
The more focused your job search, the broader the impact.
Sure.
So you have to have a vision of where you're going. The next thing is you have to have a strategy. What are your top companies? Who do you know at those top companies? What tactics are you going to use that will enable you to have very clear networking conversations
Yeah,
for those companies? And part of the strategy is finding the pain points or finding the growth points of those companies, and then building communication around how you can be the solution to those.
yeah,
And I know that I spoke really quickly, but like vision, strategy, and then tactics of exactly how you're going to hammer through and what you said is so true. Job search is not easy. Going deeper into who you are, and truly, like my clients, I actually ask them, are you coachable?
yeah,
And I do like an assessment before I ever agree with them or move forward with them. If I see it's not the right fit or it's not the right style, and they just want, free help or surface level, that's
sure.
not me.
Yeah,
So I really go deeper. We get in. It's kind of why I call myself a career intuitive therapist. I am not a psychotherapist.
disclaimer.
You can imagine a lot of the horror stories that I get.
Sure.
Um, Working with some amazing people that have just been flambéed.
Yeah. The job search is tough. So I mean, for me, like a little bit of like, I mean, I'm an open book. I was in corporate, so I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. After my husband passed 5 years ago. All the businesses we had, I basically lost because I was a second wife. He had daughters, and it was a whole disaster, a whole mess. So I had to get back into the workforce. Now I worked my butt off. So as an entrepreneur, you work harder than you do at any other job usually.
So
which I'm sure you're learning.
I am learning and I'm having a great time at it, but some
Yeah.
days you are just defeated
Oh
completely.
yeah, for sure, for
You
sure.
are CEO, COO, CMO, CHR.
It's one of these.
It's
Woo!
totally juggling. Yeah.
So the last couple of years, I have been in the corporate world, and there's some jobs that I've really liked, and I mean,
Yeah.
but during this time, I've always been kind of chasing what I've wanted to do. Like I got into fashion design, and I loved it. I was successful in the regard that I created 3 beautiful collections. I was on the runway. I was a finalist in the Cadillac Design Challenge, but monetarily, I just couldn't make it happen. So I
Yeah.
stopped that, and then I actually got into podcasting, which I've been doing for the last year and a half, and I've been, working my full-time corporate job and then just doing this. And
Yeah.
so I lost my last corporate job in December last year because of all the COVID stuff. And I've just been I told myself, I'm just going to surrender to the unknown. And so I'm a type A personality. I am
Me too.
high achiever, overachiever. I'm sure you could tell that already.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like if my boss, like I'm not one of those people that's just going to sit back and if I don't agree with something, not going to say something.
Well, I think you can learn to say it diplomatically, but I found myself in the same boat. I found myself like in charge of areas where I don't know about financial analysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I was put on this earth to have a purpose, and it's to support people who feel underrepresented and who
Yeah.
want a true ally,
Yeah.
and that has a voice, a very loud, like accountability partner,
Yeah.
and to just help bolster them up. And I'm super lucky in my career that I've been there in talent, implemented huge systems programs. But now it's like I'm at a crossroads where I've taken the road to entrepreneurship, and it's so worth it.
Yeah.
That breakup from corporate is the best ever.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
It's super hard, but
It is. It's
life.
very hard. It's very hard. I mean, I love being an entrepreneur, and the only thing with corporate is just that that security with your income. I mean, that's really and you get to meet a lot of great people, and you get to meet a lot of shitty people. But whatever, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go
Okay,
there.
that's fine because I can agree with you completely.
Oh, I like this. Okay, because I've been on the job search, but now this is I don't even know if that's going to even be an option for me anymore. But what's the best way to approach hiring managers or recruiters on LinkedIn? Especially this day and age with everything that's gone on in the world, I think that's a great question.
Okay, so because of the market and because of so many people on unemployment, I think employment actually hit 14.5% at one point.
Yes.
The best way, so just realize that recruiters and hiring leaders are inundated and saturated with 3 to 5 times as many applications as normal. So you have to think strategically, and you also have to think about them as people.
Yeah.
Their moms and dads doing homeschooling, they also are probably scared for their jobs. They also are stressed out because of family that have had or may get COVID.
Yeah.
So when you're talking with them, treat them with total respect and classy. The coordinator to the CEO, you treat in the exact same manner.
Sure.
So the best way to approach is to take the time to read their LinkedIn and find a connection. Is it the same school? Is it the same? You grew up in the same neighborhood. You go to the same workout place, and approach them with, hey, how are you doing during this pandemic? I know it must be hard for you. I read an article that I thought you might like. So the whole thing about networking is, how do you nurture relationships? How do you be of service to others? It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about the relationship that you build so that people will remember you. And, hi, hey, I saw this article on your company. Let me give you a story. One of my clients is in finance and she was in taxation, and she's like, I am bored to death with taxation. Can you imagine?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And she's getting her certified finance professional certification, and she wants to go into a whole new financial field. And so she did research in her neighborhood of who are the investment companies within a 20-mile radius. She researched every single one of them. And then she sent an email to the partners saying, I did research on your newsletter and I find your market analysis interesting. She's not saying I need a job. She's not saying she's focused on what is their growth. So there are two things. What are their pain points? For example, you don't want to go into hospitality. My next door neighbors actually was the head of catering at the Four Seasons Denver. Who's going to go to the Four Seasons in a pandemic? So we actually got her a role with a home-based technology company in a totally different field for $10,000 higher than what she was making before.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm super excited. And now she's happy. And, that's actually not uncommon of people that I partner with and help support.
That's fantastic. Well, that being said, Shelly, can you plug, so if anybody's listening, you guys, she obviously has a very specific skill set that can help you if you're looking to make a move in your career, or you're just stuck, or you just need some help with her using her intuitive energy and her wisdom. Shelly, where can the audience find you and reach out to you?
So my company is Best You, YOU, Career Advantage. So it's bestyoucareeradvantage.com, or find me on LinkedIn. And my name is spelled a little differently. It's Chelle, Shelly. So like Michelle without the MI.
Very cool. Very
Chelle
cool.
Johnson in Denver. And I love connecting with people.
I love
or on Facebook under Best You Career Advantage on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Awesome. And I will put those links in the description of the episode. Are there any final words before we wrap things up any words of wisdom or anything you'd like to leave with the audience before we say goodbye?
Just to remember to play and have fun and live life from a playful perspective, because your creativity will be so much higher, and follow your guts. If it doesn't feel right in the company, it's probably not. The universe is probably trying to conspire to help you do something different. And what's behind the door or around the corner is better than you can ever imagine.
Woo! I love that. I'm all about that. I'm all about that life. I'm all about that life, Shelly. For real. All right, you guys. This is your host, Deanna Kumpel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I'll be back very soon with more dynamic guests.